everyone, it's Miss Terry, and I'm here today to talk about my picks for March for students in grades 5 through 6. We're going to start with some fiction, and then we'll go through some nonfiction and some graphic novels as well. So I hope you enjoy these selections. This first one is from a well-loved children's author, Gordon Corman. This one is his newest one called Unplugged, and it's a story about Jet, and he's one of those characters that you kind of love to hate. He's not really that nice of a kid. He pulls a lot of kind of mean pranks, and his dad is very wealthy, and his dad has kind of had enough, and he feels like Jet needs kind of almost like a re-education. So he decides to send him to a camp that does not allow any electronics. It has a full vegan menu, and it's completely not something that Jet would really be interested in, but he's stuck there, and because he's kind of being punished for some of the things that he has done. And they also have a very strict no pets policy. Well, Jet actually finds a little lizard that he names Needles that he decides that he's going to take care of this summer. And he's trying to keep it hidden, at the same time trying to sneak into town to get the supplies that he needs in order to feed Needles, because he's not too thrilled about the vegan diet as well. But it turns out that Jet uncovers a plot by one of the main adults at camp who is actually hypnotizing adults in the community to do some sneaky stuff. And Jet and his some of his new friends at camp have decided to uncover this mystery and make sure that this adult gets in trouble for what they are doing. I'm not going to say that Jet completely turns around by the end, but you might cut him a little bit more slack based on the plot that he uncovers. But this is definitely a little bit on the funny side, but it also has chases and captures and explosions, all action-packed adventure as Jet and Needles try to uncover the truth at what is happening at this camp. So that is called Unplugged. This next one, while it's not exactly a horror, it is definitely on the creepier side. I would say it's kind of more like the Stranger Things kind of scary, or Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This is called Whispering Pines by Heidi Lang and Katie Bartowski. And this is a story about a girl named Ray. And Ray's dad has mysteriously disappeared, leaving herself and her mom and her sister, who don't even really seem to remember him very much, kind of at a loss. So they end up moving to a town called Whispering Pines. And Ray has realized that there's something very not normal about Whispering Pines. Ray's dad's not the only one who's gone missing. There are now children missing. There's strange sinkholes that suddenly appeared, and other some really weird school rules. And there she meets Carter, and you can kind of see Carter. He's got a little smoke coming out of his eyes. It's a little creepy. And Carter has lived in Whispering Pines his whole life, and he knows that Whispering Pines is not normal. His mom, as a matter of fact, kind of has this ghost business that she runs, and Carter knows that something is off because some of the kids who have gone missing have returned, except they're kind of almost like zombie-like in the fact that they're just like, and they also are missing their eyes. And Carter might know a little bit about who is needing those eyes, and he and Ray are going to team up together to try to solve the mystery of what is going on in their town. Again, it is a little bit on the creepy side. I wouldn't put it at full-out horror, but definitely is going to give you shivers. I mean, just the idea of somebody stealing children's eyeballs is kind of creepy. So that's called Whispering Pines. This next one is called Sarah and the Search for Normal, and this is actually a companion book to the book O.C. Daniel, if anybody has read that one. But this is a story about Sarah, and when she was 6 years old, she was diagnosed with anxiety and depression and bipolar, and she has a mild case of schizophrenia, and she really has a hard time fitting in at school. She gets bullied a lot. They've kind of nicknamed her Psycho Sarah because she does have some incidents, some panic attacks that she can't really seem to control. And Sarah's determined that she wants to be what she calls normal, and she gives herself 154 days to do it. And one of the first rules that she decides is that she needs to stop taking her medication, which does not go well for her at all. She does go to a therapy group where she does finally make a friend that kind of helps her see that with her medication she can have a very active, full, and happy life. So if you like stories about kids struggling with mental illness, then you would enjoy Sarah and the Search for Normal. This next one, Isaiah Dunn is My Hero by Kelly Baptist, is about a boy named Isaiah, and Isaiah's dad has passed away, and this has caused a lot of trouble for him and his family. He and his mom and his sister are currently living in a hotel because his mom is struggling a lot with depression and the loss of her husband. She's kind of been drinking a lot, so she's not working a lot, and now Isaiah is determined to help his family out of this situation, and he's trying to look for a way that he can find some extra money so that they can possibly move move out of the motel and maybe get an apartment. And one of the kids at school kind of has his like underground candy business that he says Isaiah can help him with for a little bit of extra cash on the side, but it's really not proving to be enough money, and Isaiah is struggling. He's starting to get very angry about his situation, and it's causing him some trouble at school. He finds a lot of solace in the notebook that his dad has left him, where he had started a story that portrayed Isaiah as a superhero, and Isaiah is trying to find that inner superhero so that he can deal with the trouble that he is having in his life. So that is Isaiah Dunn is my hero. This next one has a little bit of magic in it. This one is called The Way to Rio Luna by Zoraida Cordova. And this is about a boy named Danny. And Danny had been living in a group home with his sister Peely, and she disappeared. And he doesn't believe that she would have left him behind, but it's been years since he has seen his sister. He's been going from one foster home to another, and it has not been going well. And then he remembers the stories of a place called Rio Luna that his sisters used to say, I'm going to go there and I'm going to wait for you there. And he does believe in magic, and he thinks that he might have found the map to Rio Luna. And this changes everything for him as he is transported into the magical world where once again he may be reunited with his sister. Okay, so if you like fairy tales, you definitely would enjoy this book. It kind of has a mixture of all of them together in this magical world. This next one is definitely more of the action-adventure variety. This one is called The Unexplainable Disappearance of Mars Patel. It's by Sheila Chari, and it is about a boy named Mars. And Mars is he likes to pull practical jokes. He often finds himself in detention with some of his friends, but they go to a middle school that, and most of the schools in their world do this. They're trying to do really well on this test that might allow them into a very exclusive school called Pruitt Prep, which is founded by Oliver Pruitt, who's kind of really almost like the most influential person on the planet. He's definitely one of the wealthiest. And he's just announced recently that something big is going to be happening at Pruitt Prep. But at the same time, kids start going missing all over the world, including Mars' very best friend named Aurora. And he is determined to figure out what has happened to her and to solve the mystery of what is going to be happening at Pruitt Prep. So that is called The Unexplainable Disappearance of Mars Patel. Definitely an action-packed adventure. This next one is called The Dog Who Saved the World, and it's a little, it definitely has some funny parts, but it's also a little scary in the sense that it hits kind of close to home right now, because this is a story about a world where a dog form of Ebola has jumped to humans, and now there are humans all over the planet who are very, very sick. And the government at first is like, okay, we need to euthanize all stray dogs. We can't have any dogs running around that might be getting people more and more sick. And this is a story about a girl named Georgie, and she works at her local animal shelter, and she has this dog named Mr. Mash that she absolutely loves, and she does not want him to get euthanized. So she's going to try to save him from this disease that is getting everybody sick, and hopefully try to find the cure, or at least an antidote that they can start giving people to keep them from getting sick. And she discovers this kind of wacky game designer who has created this almost futuristic virtual reality world, and Georgie believes that the cure might be found there, and if she can just get into it and maybe bring an antidote back from the future, she might be able to save Mr. Marsh and all the dogs that she loves. This is called The Dog Who Saved the World. This next one is called Easy Out. It's definitely for sports fans, especially if you like baseball. And this is about the town of Westlock. That's it's kind of fallen on some hard times. There aren't a lot of families living there. There certainly aren't enough kids to form more than one baseball team. So they've put all the kids who want to play baseball onto one team, and they've kind of entered them into a fast pitch, AA league. And Mo is one of those kids, and he's not very good. He's not very good at baseball, which can be difficult for him because his dad is a former baseball player who is just amazing. He kind of rocks at athletics. So Mo's kind of struggling with the idea that I obviously didn't get any of those genes from my dad, and their team starts losing and losing and losing and losing some more. So Mo and his teammates have to figure out how are they going to change the tide and possibly become winners in their baseball league. So it's called Easy Out. This next one is definitely in the horror genre. This one is called Haunt Me by K.P. Alexander. Some of you might remember some of the other books that I have brought by him, including Scare Me, Bury Me, Follow Me. This one is his one of his newer ones called Haunt Me. And this is about a girl named Maria who's really struggling with the death of her sister Isabella and kind of the guilt that she feels over what had happened to Isabella. And it kind of follows her everywhere, including to a sleepover with two of her friends where they decide that they're going to play a game in the hopes of contacting dead spirits. And Maria's like, well, maybe this will be an opportunity for me to talk to my sister and apologize and tell her I'm sorry. Well, at first it just seems like it's not working and it's just a game. And then she does get contacted by a spirit who says that she is Isabella and she is not happy. It's called Haunt Me. Definitely on the creepy side. Step up from Goosebumps for sure. Read it with the lights on. This next one is Choose Your Own Adventure Stories. This one is called The World War II Soldier's Experience, and it actually has 3 different set of Choose Your Own Adventure Stories in there. You can choose to be in the infantry, you can also choose to be a Navy, in the Navy, or you can be a pilot. Choose Your Own Adventure is where you read for a little bit, and then you get to make a choice, and then you have to decide where the story goes. There's 9 different story paths, there's 142 choices and 64 different endings. So you can read this book over and over again. If you really like historical fiction, you'll enjoy this. If you like the World War II time period, you also would enjoy this. Or if you just like military books in general, I think you would enjoy this. So that's the World War II Soldier's Experience, Choose Your Own Adventure. So those are the fiction books that I have today. Let's talk a little bit about some of the graphic novels. This first one is not a new one, but I always like to remind kids that it's out there. This is a graphic novel version of The Lightning Thief. So if you don't feel like you're not quite ready for the big books by Rick Riordan, you might enjoy trying out the graphic novel first. And this is a story about a boy who discovers that he is descended from some of the Greek gods and what happens to him. Okay, it's also been made into a movie, so it's always fun to read the book. I like to read different versions of things. This one is a new one called Simon and Chester Super Detectives, and these are 2 friends, Simon and Chester, and Simon actually is a ghost. You can see him there, and his friend Chester, and they're playing around in their attic one day when they discover this deerstalker hat, which is a lot like Sherlock Holmes, and a mystery pretty much falls into their lap in the form of a stray pug dog, and they are trying to figure out where did this dog come from, who does he belong to, and why is he in their house. Now, Chester's kind of more the level head. He's like, well, let's look at the dog's collar, and Simon is like, no, we need to set up this huge mystery board and have all these strings connecting all the dots and see if we can figure things out. So this is the first in their detective series of finding out who the owner of a lost dog is. So that's Simon and Chester Super Detectives. This next one is called The Creeps. This is actually the second in this series, but you do not have to read them in order. But the Creeps are this kind of madcap group of detectives who like to solve mysteries. And monster attacks happen often in their community. They kind of live amongst monsters, so it's not unusual for a monster to attack. But now there's an invisible monster who's attacking. And the Creeps realize that it is a troll who is doing the attacking. And trolls have a tendency to hibernate, travel in packs. So they know that it's not just one troll, it's probably a group of trolls. And one of the things that they really like to do is to eat humans, and they prefer humans who are very stressed out. Well, there's this kind of social media campaign that's happening in the town that is causing a big uproar, and the townspeople are very stressed. So the trolls are ready to attack and to dine on all these deliciously stressed out human beings. And it's up to the Creeps to solve the mystery of who is spreading this misinformation online and how to get the trolls out of, it's called Pumpkin County. So that's where they live. That's the Creeps. Definitely, it's more on the funny side than it is on the scary side, other than the fact that trolls are eating humans. This next one is called the Pathfinder Society, and this is about 5 friends, Kyle, Vic, Beth, Harry, and Nate, who find themselves at Camp Merriweather. And they end up going to the town's old kind of creepy castle where they discover all these secret rooms and an entrance to what they call the Moon Tower. You can see that there. And it's there that they're going to find their town's secret as well as their town's treasure. So this is called the Pathfinder Society. This next one is called Mech Cadet U, and in this world, there are these giant sentient robots. Sentient meaning that they can think and they can feel, and what they do is they come down from outer space and they bond with one of the human beings that goes to the Sky Corps Academy. So these people on Earth go to the Skycore Academy. They've trained for this. They're ready to be bonded with their robot. Well, a robot comes down and ends up bonding with a very young boy who happens to be the school's janitor's son. This was not supposed to happen, but because it has happened, he now is able to go to the Skycore Academy. This is an opportunity of a lifetime for him, but the other students are not so thrilled to have him there, and so he's going to have to prove himself and show that he deserves to have this robot and to train with the best against the other threats in the universe. So this is the first in this series. This next one is called The City on the Other Side, and this is about a girl named Isabel who's always very prim and proper. She does everything she's supposed to do until one day she stumbles across this kind of invisible portal that sends her into the city on the other side of the portal, where things are not as great as what's on her side. As a matter of fact, there is a war raging amongst the different types of fairies in this other world, and with the help of a magical necklace, Isabel realizes she might be the only one who can make things right. So that's a city on the other side. And then this last this last graphic novel I have today is called Pashmina by, I'm gonna probably pronounce this wrong, I apologize, Nidhai Shanani. And this is about a girl named Priyanka Das, and she lives in America with her mom, but her mom won't ever talk about India, where she's from. It's kind of like, don't even bring it up. I'm not going to tell you anything. And that includes information about her dad, who she really doesn't understand why he was left behind, where he is, or even who he is. And she wants more information. Well, one day she's kind of going through her mom's things and she finds this Pashmina, which is this cloth here, and it magically transports her into this magical world that she believes is an indicative of the India that her mom is from, and she's hoping that she can find the answers as she magically transports there. All right, so those are the graphic novels. Let's talk about some nonfiction. This first one is called Everything Awesome About Sharks and Other Underwater Creatures. And this is a really fun look of trivia and information about the SeaWorld, but focusing heavily on the sharks. And you can kind of see on the inside, it's a really fun read. It gives you lots of really great facts about these different creatures in a very fun way. I wouldn't say it's a graphic novel full out, but it does have a very graphic display. So if you love sharks, you definitely will enjoy poring over this book. This next one is a new cookbook. This one is from the Food Network magazine, and this is the Big Fun Kids Cookbook. It has a lot of really great recipes for kids to try. If you are a foodie and you love watching the Food Network, you probably would enjoy trying some of the recipes in here. And they have there's some that are a little bit more complex, but then they also have very simple ones. Here is an entire set of different ideas for putting, instead of just doing celery and peanut butter, what are some other ways that you can make a healthy snack? Look at ladybugs on a log, berries on a branch, ants on a ranch, and it gives you some different options that you could try. So if you're just looking to revamp some of your snacks, they have a really great section too on how to make some fun different types of popcorn. So even if you're not really a chef, you probably can handle some of the recipes in this. And they also have desserts as well as breakfast, lunch, dinners, and in addition to the snacks. This next one is called Who Gives a Poop? And this is surprising science from one end to the other. And yes, you're probably thinking, who on earth would like to examine poop? But there is a lot of information that can be gained from doing so. And even some weird, quirky facts, like mastodon poop is actually one of the reasons why we eat pumpkin pie today, which I'm like, exactly how does that go together? And then there's also some information about how every week poop is delivered from people, delivered to a science lab and changed up and washed and all the science stuff done to it before it is sent to other people and actually gets implanted into their body. What? Ew, gross. But this is a really fun look at the science of poop. So that's called Who Gives a Poop? This next one is called Comics Confidential, and this is 13 graphic novelists that talk about how to write stories for graphic novels, their craft, and life outside the box. So how they became comic book artists, how they work, what kind of things you might need to know if that's something that you're interested in, how they got started, and all of those different kinds of tips and tricks of the trade, as well as learning a lot about some of your favorite comic book artists. So it's Comics Confidential. This next one is another horror story. This one is called The Green Briar Ghost. And this is the story of Elva Zana Heister-Shue. She died in West Virginia in 1897. And originally they thought her death was from natural causes, but then her ghost started to haunt her mom and was trying to tell her, no, didn't die of natural causes. I was actually murdered, and I can tell you exactly how it happened. So this is, you know, whether or not you believe in ghosts, whether it's a true account or not, but this is an actual story that was told and has been told multiple times about a ghost who pointed out her own killer. So that's The Green Briar Ghost. So if you love ghost stories or ghost hunters, you definitely would enjoy this book. This next one is called Generation Brave, and this is about the Gen Z kids, a little bit older than you guys, but this is a story about how young people are changing the world in a lot of different areas. I'm not sure if you recognize her right here. I gotta remember what her name is. It is Greta Thunberg. Maybe you've heard of her. She is really become a very loud voice about climate change. So these are people that are alive today and the things that they are doing to change their world. This next one is a great one by National Geographic, which means it has fantastic pictures. And this is 125 animals that changed the world. So if you love animal stories, especially those feel-good animal stories about animals doing incredible things, you are definitely going to enjoy this book. It talks, it's not just dogs and cats. It talks about dolphins and how they help the military. You can see the pigs. It talks a lot about animals that have been in danger, and then it became the first of theirs, like for this pig, you know, the first one to have his legs removed, and how they helped that animal, and how helping that animal has now helped save other animals. So if you love feel-good stories and you love animals, you definitely are going to enjoy this book. And then finally, I have Learn to Draw Cartoons. I know that you guys have really been enjoying drawing books this year, so this is a new one about how to draw cartoons, not necessarily in any specific style, but it gives you some different tips and tricks and follow along suggestions on how to draw comic books. So hopefully you find something you enjoy this month. Thanks.